These are 10 new PS5 games that you have to play in 2024. Some of the latest and greatest titles that fully leverage the power of your next-gen console. First, let's start off with one that was literally just announced, and you may be surprised by this, but it's called Taxi Life, a driving simulator. Now, if you've played GTA and you've ever stolen a taxi, you may have spent way too many hours driving around doing taxi jobs. That was one of the coolest things, like GTA 4, GTA 5, you would steal the cab, go do some jobs, and you'd earn like $10, $20, $30 or whatever, depending on the job type. It was a super fun and hilarious minigame that you could go about and do, but now there's an actual game that is entirely based off of being a taxi driver. Now, this just isn't one of those random simulator games. Like, I loved Euro Truck Simulator 2. That was a super cool simulator game. This isn't like Power Wash Simulator or like a goat simulator, something super bizarre. This is actually, it got some cool features to it. For starters, the map is based on a 1:1 true scale of Barcelona. It's completely recreated a 1:1 map of that area. The map size in total is around 286 miles, which is about 460 kilometers. And you can explore the city, earn points by discovering points of interest, and of course, completing tasks. Now, you'll eventually use your experience points to upgrade your character and also your vehicles. So you can unlock new skills and also abilities to accept longer and larger fares. So you don't just have to do those little mini jobs. You can sort of level up and do more complex, like airport run type jobs, like really large ones within that area of the map. Now, graphically, I think this game actually looks very good. It's also got a lot of car customization. You can go ahead and customize different aspects of your taxi. You can also get electric cars, so you've got to like charge the vehicle up, sort of Tesla style vehicles. But with the car customization, you can absolutely go to town with both the interior and exterior. And this isn't just having one taxi. You can also build out a fleet of taxis with your very own company, very similar to Euro Truck Simulator, how you could purchase additional trucks and have the AI go ahead and drive those for you. There's multiple different types of taxis that you can own, ones that look like Teslas, ones that are a little bit more traditional Mercedes-Benz style European taxis. And I'm not even joking here. I actually think this could be quite a good game. The same developers also made a bus simulator that was previously released on the PS5 that actually had quite good reviews and a decent reception. And there's actually quite a lot of depth to the gameplay in terms of the mechanics of running the business of a taxi. You've got to keep the vehicle clean, you've got to maintain the vehicle, and there's lots of additional things you can do to try and maximize the profits of the jobs, whether that be driving fast, actually talking to the client within the car, answering their different questions so they give you a tip, and to keep things nice and exciting, if that's possible while driving a taxi, you also get special missions. This includes accepting various different challenges that allow you to drive as fast as possible, and no speeding fines will apply, which will have you accept various challenges where you have to drive as fast as possible without getting any speeding fines or breaking any traffic rules. While we're on the topic of driving games, let's take a look at a very unusual genre, which is a survival driving game. I've never heard of such a thing before, but Specific Drive is a first-person driving survival game with your car as your only companion. You navigate through a surreal reimagining of the Pacific Northwest, and you face supernatural dangers as you venture into the Olympic exclusion zone. Each excursion into the wilderness brings unique and strange challenges as you restore and upgrade the car that you found from an abandoned garage that basically acts as your home base. You complete missions and gather precious resources, and the whole goal is to drive to survive, which sounds a little bit like that Netflix series about the Formula 1, but it's nothing to do with that. Players will be tasked with maintaining their vehicle, keeping the gas tank filled up, and also ensuring that panels are intact to withstand the radiation. The game has dynamic weather and other challenges that you will face in order to survive, and I'm a huge fan of the art style. I think it looks absolutely stunning. This game is completely single player. There's no co-op, there's no multiplayer, so you can just get lost in your very own adventure. Next up, we've probably got one of the most anticipated PlayStation games to release in the last few years, and that is Silent Hills 2. This is a complete remake of the original game from 2001 that has the same name, and it's being completely reimagined on the Unreal 5 engine, which is one of the most popular engines at the moment for a lot of games. This means you can expect improvements to the overall gameplay and fluidity to the characters, but more specifically, the environments and graphics will be truly breathtaking on the Unreal 5 engine. I'm looking forward to seeing Silent Hills 2 come to the PS5. Unfortunately, we never got to see that Silent Hills release. Now, obviously, they did that PT demo back on the 2014 on the PS4, and they were going to obviously release Silent Hills, but that never happened, which I actually thought that would be quite cool. I did play PT on the PS4, that sort of little scary demo that they made, so it'd be quite cool to actually experience Silent Hills 2 in a modern environment, because I've never really played this game on the old PS2. My brothers will have played it more than me personally, because, you know, it was way too old for my age at that time. So it will be cool to finally experience a Silent Hill game on a newer modern engine version reimagined for the next generation consoles. On the topic of re-releasing older games, next up we've got Fallout 4 that's coming to the PlayStation 5. Now, of course, Fallout 4 was released back in 2015 and it was a fantastic game. It was released on the PS4, Xbox One, and also PC. I played it on the Xbox One, I think, and also on PC, and I enjoyed the game. Mostly, I liked Fallout 4 just for the base building. I did a few story player missions, and then all I did was just spend my whole time exploring the map and building the bases. I found that incredibly fun. It was basically like an adult version of The Sims, but in a survival post-nuclear tragedy environment. It was very fun. I really enjoyed building the buildings and doing some little side quests, actually more than predominantly playing the main storyline. Now, you can obviously play Fallout 4 on your PS5 currently. That is the PS4 Pro version of the game with the sort of slightly improved graphics compared to the base version on the original PlayStation. But Bethesda intends to release a next generation upgraded version for both the Xbox Series X and also the PlayStation 5. With this, you can expect much better visuals, better load times, higher render distance, and obviously higher FPS, hoping to get around 4K 60 FPS when this game is released. I believe they've already done something similar with Skyrim. That game's been released so many times, I'm losing track at this point, so it should be a similar premise to that. This will be a free upgrade if you already own Fallout 4 in your PlayStation account, and there'll be two key things that it will be releasing. Obviously, two performance modes for both prioritizing frame rate and also one for prioritizing resolution, along with some new content for the Creation Club. Next up, we've got another remaster, and this is a Star Wars game. This game is Star Wars Dark Forces Remastered. Now, this is a super old PlayStation 1 FPS shooter from the Star Wars franchise, and it will be releasing on both the PlayStation 4 and also the PS5. It has been exactly 29 years since this game originally released, and it has a very traditional feel to the overall FPS genre, heavily inspired by games like Doom of its era, and I'm also guessing titles a little bit like Quake 2, Quake 3 were also of a similar vein during this time period. Now, interestingly, when this game released back in the day, it wasn't one of the most popular Star Wars games ever. It was actually looked upon as like kind of average, but fans looked in retrospect back on the game with quite a fun light to it. Now, on this remaster, it will be running at 4K 120 FPS. It does have quite an interesting art style from the trailer too. It looks completely different to the original, while still retaining this sort of like classic comic book vibe. There will be a lot of updates to the lighting, atmospheric effects, as well as some advanced 3D rendering that is now capable on the newer generation consoles. The new DualSense controller will also leverage and take advantage of various different rumble effects and also a weapon wheel, along with some gyro controls, which is basically when you can take the controller and move it around like that to do different stuff within the game. So all of this should hopefully help modernize the game and make it feel nice and fresh. Next up, we've got a game that I'm not really too excited about, but some people might be, and it's Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Now, I remember this getting announced back in summer at like the Game Awards sort of Summerfest thing, and I just wasn't really too impressed by it. Graphically, I think it looks quite impressive. You've got this stunning open world that you can explore, especially if you like that sort of Gotham franchise. You're going to have a lot of fun here. I do personally like the Batman games, so yeah, I should really like something like this, but I don't know, there's just something about it. I'm getting like, and it's like Gotham Knights vibes. I know it's a different developer, but that game is just a little bit disappointing. On the topic of those Batman games, this upcoming action shooter game is a sequel to Batman Arkham Knight, released back in 2015, so you can expect the story to continue where that game left off, and it also follows the timeline from the DC Comics. The game will follow 4 key supervillains from the Suicide Squad: Captain Boomerang, Deadshot, Harley Quinn, and also King Shark. And of course, because there is 4 characters, something very cool about this game is the fact it does have online co-op, so you can either play this solo, switch between the characters if you want yourself, or you can play it alongside some friends, which I do quite like the sound of that. Another game to be excited about is South Park Snow Day. This is brought to you by the same developers that did South Park Stick of Truth and all those other sort of sequels that they made. Those games were incredibly funny, and I did actually enjoy my time that I spent when playing them. Now, this game is the next chapter across those 3 previous games as the new kid. However, this time the gameplay is completely different. It's basically like a 3D character instead of it being like the South Park TV series like the past games, where it was 2D. You now have a 3D perspective of the character. Another thing that makes this game slightly different is the online co-op. You can play this with up to 3 friends, or just play it solo with the AI, whatever you prefer. You can expect completely different gameplay than anything you've experienced from the South Park series in previous games. It's much more heavily focused on being an action game with combat, where you can equip unique and different weapons and also deploy different unique skills. This next game is one that I am incredibly hyped about, and I don't know whether it will release this year. It was meant to release last year and also the year before that, but hopefully it will. And that is Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. Now, Test Drive Unlimited 2 was one of my favorite games as a kid. In fact, it's probably, I'd go as far to say it was one of the best racing games ever made, because it's made by originally it was made by the same studio that now does Forza Horizon, but Test Drive Unlimited 2 is not even comparable to Forza Horizon. Like Forza Horizon, you got all the wheel spins, you can't even get out the car, you can't really customize your your character properly, you never really see the character. It now has got houses, but the houses are pointless. You can't even walk around the houses. Whereas in Test Drive Unlimited 2, it was basically GTA 5 before GTA 5 without any of the violence. It was just about street racing. So inside of Test Drive Unlimited 2, you would have a character that you could customize, you could purchase houses, you could walk around those houses and change out the furniture, all of the colors of the walls, the sofas, whatever you like. You could complete various different street races, and you could even go to a casino and gamble to try and win cars and also money to level up your character. It had a proper progression about it. You started off as like a street racer dude with no money and a terrible car, and it actually took you a good amount of time to level up to get a much faster car. It's literally, you play Forza Horizon 5 and you literally have like a Bugatti or something within like three races. You do a race, do a wheel spin, oh, I've got a McLaren P1. It's terrible. Now, Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown aims to go back to its roots at its core of what made it so successful, but this time it has an insane map with a one-to-one recreation of Hong Kong. So you can expect a huge open world that you can explore with huge details in all of the different environments. Test Drive Unlimited will have a huge selection of luxury cars, all branded from Lamborghini, Aston Martin, Audi, Mercedes, BMW, Ferrari, Porsche, Koenigsegg, Bugatti, so many that you can name. It's not like there's going to be a few selections unlicensed cars. It will still have the same concept when it comes to houses, but this time there's something called the Solar Hotel. This is an enormous tower of huge luxury apartments where you'll be able to purchase one as a player, switch out the interior design, and do all of the things that you are familiar with from Test Drive Unlimited 2. So this Solar Hotel will sort of be, I believe, the sort of flagship apartment block within the game, and you might start off with something a little bit lower class in the start of the game and then level up to that tier. There's also special perks for being a part of the Solar Hotel and special services, which might include, you know, things like cars being dropped off or whatever. Who knows? It's pretty exciting. Just like in Test Drive Unlimited 2, you'll also be able to customize your character. This involves going clothes shopping for various different brands. Like literally, it had like Diesel and like G-Star, I think. It had like proper clothing brands inside of the game, so you could buy jeans and t-shirts and stuff. It's super cool in the old ones. And of course, one of the most popular features from Test Drive Unlimited 2 will be present in Solar Crown, which is the gambling. So you can go to casinos, nightclubs, rooftop bars, and have a proper social life with various other players. Obviously, this new game might hopefully have some in-game chat as well, with it being on newer consoles, so you can talk to people within these environments, like chill out areas, and it can completely take it to a whole nother stratosphere for this type of feature. Next up, we've got The Last of Us Part 2, the remaster that is coming to the PS5. Obviously, this is an old game that was released on the PS4, and it was an incredibly popular title. It was the continuation of The Last of Us. You all know what The Last of Us is. Don't really need to explain it. Now, this game does already have a patch on the PS5. It had a little bit of a performance patch when it sort of came over to the next generation consoles, but nothing too crazy. It was like about 80 megabytes or something. Whereas now we are getting a proper remaster for the PlayStation 5. This involves some key changes to the overall game, which includes some new game modes, a horde game mode, like a survival thing on different maps, as well as some new difficulty modes within single player. You literally like play on like these insane one life difficulty modes now, and also different features such as character outfits and stuff like that. Now, if you already own this on the PS4, it will just be a $10 upgrade for the PS5 version if you want the improved graphics, the improved gameplay, and some of the new features that have been added. There's also going to be guitar free play mode, which will allow you to just play as Joel and play the guitar, which is a super popular mini game that occurred at various points within the PS4 version. I'm super excited to try out that mode, and it's definitely going to be worth $10 to unlock this latest version. Now, the final game on this list is one that hasn't been released in over a decade, and that is EA Sports College Football. The last time they made a game like this, basically like sort of like American football, I'm going to be honest, I don't have a huge experience on it because I more play FIFA, you know, sort of British football. But the last time they released one of these games was way back in 2013, and then they discontinued the franchise, whereas this year, they're going ahead and rebooting it, so you can expect a brand new college football game from EA on your PS5. I know for a lot of my viewers that are based in America, this will be a sports game that they're super excited to see, and it's super cool to see EA finally relaunching this franchise after the legal issues that they'd had. Basically, I think the reason why they killed it was because they'd had some lawsuits and stuff like that from the NIL, which caused them difficulties for them to make future games, so that all seems to have been dropped, and they're back up and running. Now, obviously, these are some of the latest and greatest PlayStation games that are soon set to be released. But if you want to see some of the current best games that you can play on your PS5 or PS4, you should check out this video next and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this.